my name is Jacob Duran, but everybody knows me as Stitch. A lot of people don't even know my real name, but I'm a cut man for fighters. So my job, Callum, is when the fighters walk into the dressing room, my job first thing is to wrap their hands in theory so they don't break them, right? And then come fight time, my job is to keep them in the game, maintain. If they get swollen, if they get cut, I take away that negative and give them every opportunity to win a fight. And the old theory is I give them that one more round. So that's what I do as a cut man.
Perfect. And then just to get started, I recently saw you in a GQ interview that you were analysing films and their use of cut men. I saw that you made your own custom iron. Is it your custom? You customized your own iron.
Yes.
What sort of other things do you have in your corner that people wouldn't really realize that you would have to aid a fighter?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's the game of a cut man is I've evolutionized it, I guess. Steve Mazzagatti, that used to be a referee in the UFC, now he's a timekeeper for the Nevada Athletic Commission, said it best, you revolutionize being a cut man. But that chaos, well, yeah, you're right. Actually, I was coming back from London, and I'm at the airport, and I put the bottle here, and it's curved, and so I went home and got some clay and made it curved so it could fit in the prominent areas, but also made it flat on the side that says Stitch for the areas that are flat. So that's the KO swell. I also have, if you notice, the wrist wrap, the wrap that we put here where we put the swabs, and of course gloves, and that wrist wrap was actually designed by Rudy Hernandez. That's a cut man for the UFC. But he let me put it out in the market for the safety of the fighters. But, I always tell these young fighters, if you're looking for a cut man, you put the swab in his mouth or he puts one in his ear, get another cut man because that's filthy. That's old school, right? And so that's what that does. And if you notice, a lot of this, especially guys in MMA, now, that's a good point. Guys in MMA are all using the wrist wrap. They all wear gloves. They all put the Vaseline here. They all use the techniques that I established. And in boxing, the young generation does that, but the older guys still work with no gloves, still put the swabs in their mouths, still, So I designed these products to at least to help me and then help others, because we work on seconds, Kevin, and if you can eliminate 3, 4, 5 seconds by proper application, then you've done your job.
And then just go back straight from the start. How did you find your way into boxing? And
hold on a second, I think I lost you.
Oh, sorry. Just to go back to the start, how did you find your way into boxing and even as a cut man?
I'm sorry. Hold on. I think I screwed up, bro. I turned off my car. and hold on. I think it's attached. My phone is attached to the. Let me see here. Phone apps. Can you speak?
Yeah, you all good?
Okay, I'm good.
You're good.
Let me turn off the car now. All right. Now you can't see me now, right? Hold on.
Yeah, I can see you.
I don't know. Sorry about all this, man.
Yeah, you're all right.
But I'm still old school, bro. So you gotta bear with me, huh?
You're all good. You're all good.
All right. Good, man. So anyway, so yeah, that's the point behind that.
And let's just go back to the start. How did you find your way into boxing? How did you find your way into becoming a cut man? It's not maybe necessarily a route into boxing or into combat sports that many people even know of or even think of.
Yeah, good point. 1974. I don't think you weren't even born then, right? I joined the military in 1972, at the Air Force, United States Air Force, and I said if I ever went to the Orient, I'd want to study the martial arts. That was during the Bruce Lee era. So they stationed me in Thailand, and I saw my first Muay Thai fight, and that I got addicted. On the base, they had Taekwondo for the GIs. So I think I did like 3, 4 months of that, and then they left, and the Thais took over, and they transitioned us into a little bit more of the Muay Thai system. So I have both combinations that work out well. So I got back to the States. I got into boxing to improve my hands, and then I started working with amateur boxers as a coach. And in those days, these old boxing guys wouldn't show you, quote, their secrets. So I had to kind of learn by observing in the dressing room and doing my own thing. So that's how I got going. Then I had a school of kickboxing. I opened it up with a credit card. Let me show you, as crazy as I was, but I was already training top fighters, and that was, I became successful with that. I trained fighters, I managed them, I promoted fights, but then I liked being a cut man. I just kind of floated to the top, and 29 years ago, my wife and I and my kids, we moved here to Las Vegas to follow my dreams. So here I am as a cut man, and I didn't come to Vegas to be a trainer because I thought all the great trainers in the world were here, but when I saw doing what they were doing, I could do that, so they would hire me to do pads because I had a job, so I couldn't be a full-time trainer. But coming, then it was only boxing, and then the UFC came around, and Dana and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all that. And we wrap fighters' hands, we work their cuts, and it got so popular that now they use like 5 cut men. So that's how I got to where I'm at now. And now honored to be working with so many great fighters, and and then just to be involved in movies on what I do. So it's been a blessing in itself, and I'm telling you. And I went to an amateur show last night, a boxing show, to see some friends, and I told them, to this day, I've never asked for one job. It's just been a blessing.
That's a very cool way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and in terms of that, what God, so how important do you believe the role of oh, wait, can you still hear me?
No. Oh, there we go. You better?
Yeah, better. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what's
That's all right.
internet. Um, how important do you think the role of a cut man is in a corner in a team, especially
100%.
in big fights where you've got those sort of 1-2% differences? Like, how important do you believe a cut man is?
Oh, it's 100% important. It's, we, I say I'm an insurance thing. So if you're driving a Maserati, you should have insurance, for a Maserati. If you're driving, something else. But yeah, it's extremely important for a cut man. I've made a lot of money for a lot of fighters, but not even that. That's not important. I've helped win a lot of fights for a lot of fighters, and that's really the important thing. So extremely important.
And how much of a role do you play in terms of the fighter retirements from a fight, and in terms of injuries? Is it a case of speaking to the corner or speaking to the trainer in between rounds, assessing a fighter's injuries, or would you have a heavy role in even throwing the towel in?
Yeah, a good point. I've done both. Uh, Andre Duran, when he fought Jose Esquerigi, uh, he was taking the kind of punches that I consider the ones that create long-term damage. So he gets here and goes all the way through out here, right? And so I'm looking at the doctors, and they're talking amongst themselves, and I go to Andre, and I'm wiping him down, and I whispered to him. I said, "Look, the doctors are thinking of stopping the fight. Do you want to continue?" And it's just a real small no like this. I told the referee, stop the fight. And the two coaches didn't know what was going on. No, one more round, one more round. But I said, nope. As long as he said no, then he's done. The next day, him and his wife called me like 8 a.m, and they both thanked me for stopping the fight because Andre says, I just didn't have nothing in me, so that that definitely helped, and yeah, so I've done it, and to the point where Vladimir Klitschko, when he fought Devero Williamson, it was his first comeback fight from losing his world title the first time to Lehman Brewster. And I'm working on him, and he won the first 3 rounds. He didn't look that good, but he won. On the 4th round, he gets dropped. And then on the 5th round, he ends up with a headbutt. And that big vein we have right here, Kellen, he popped that vein, and the cut maybe about this big. But when you pop that big vein, it's really, really hard to control. So percentage-wise, I'm looking, and the best time for me to have stopped that fight, percentage-wise, was right then and there because he was winning 3 rounds to 2. And so as he sat down, I whispered to him and his brother Vitaly. I said, "Look, you got a back cut. You're winning the fight. I'm gonna have the doctor stop the fight." And the doctor stopped the fight, went to the scorecards, and he won the fight, became world champion, and he lost it to Anthony Joshua. That was his last fight, but he was a champion for 8 years. So, yeah, knowing your game and knowing the fighters, and the thing, that's a good point, because as I was talking to some of these fighters last night, it was a seniors masters from fighters, old guys from all over the world. But I said, it's these guys, they're all gladiators, but deep inside they're all babies, and my job is to take care of the baby. And they all agreed to that. So,
and have you ever sort of argued or disagreed with a trainer about the potential of sort of stopping a fight due to a cut or due to any sort of type of hurt that a fight has been taken?
nah, it's to the point now. That's a good point. Where people understand my judgment, and my only reason is take care of the fighter. That's my only reason, and my only reason for being there. So they understand, and they know the caliber of work that I bring to the table. And so if I suggest something, then there's probably a lot of truth to it. So yeah, it's never been a problem.
And then in that same GQ article, I saw that you use different types of chemicals now to help with cuts and to help iron things up. Can you give a little bit more explanation on those little things that have sort of come?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's a good point. There's really two major medications we could use: the adrenaline chloride 1000 and Quick Aid, or where Quick Aid's a supplement, but Avitine. And here's another point. I always tell these young fighters: look, if you're looking for a cut man, outside of putting the swabs in his mouth and ear, ask him what the function is of the Avitine. And if they tell you what stops the bleeding, yeah, I know it stops the bleeding, but what are the mechanics to it? And if he tells you it, I'm talking about it. Start again. So I ask him about the adrenaline chloride 1000. Ask him what the function does. Oh, it stops the bleeding. They'll say, yeah, but what is the mechanics behind the adrenaline chloride 1000? Oh, it's a coagulant. Well, if they say it's a coagulant, they're wrong. Get another cut man, because it's completely opposite. The medication that we use on the cut is on the swab is adrenaline chloride 1000 that's authorized in the UK. That's a vessel constrictor. So once you put it on the cut, in theory, it closes up the vessel so that blood doesn't leak. The Avitine is a coagulant, and that's more like a cotton candy type of fiber. But you put it on the cut, but once you get hit, it takes that clot with it, and it continues to bleed. So adrenaline chloride 1000, and there's a new item that's 100% natural called Quick Aid. QWIK, and you could get that like at Cutman for Hire Supplies. That's 100% natural, doesn't require a prescription, but it's made out of a seaweed base. So once you put it on the cut, it dehydrates the blood, and it works great. So those are, everybody should have them.
Yeah, and what are sort of the two differences?
But let me add also, Callum, is the adrenaline chloride 1000 and the Avitine are both by prescription. So just not anybody could get it. And keep in mind that we as coaches and we as cutmen, none of us have to be certified to be called professionals. So that's why I always try to educate. That's why I'm speaking to you right now.
Yeah, and what sort of different are the differences in when you would use either of the two chemicals, or are they sort of partly interchangeable?
Yeah, but good point. Well, you're real good at this stuff, man. 90% of the time I use Avitine. I mean, adrenaline chloride 1000. God, really, I think the last time I used Avitine, and I don't even use it anymore, when Forrest Griffin fought Shogun in the UFC. Forrest ended up with that same type of cut that Vladimir Klitschko had. That's why I knew that type of cut. But I put the adrenaline on there to close the blood vessels, and then I plugged it up with the Avitine, and both of them together worked, and Forrest ended up winning the fight. So, but that's the last time I used it, because it's very, very hard to work with.
And then back to your career, Morris, is there any specific fight that you've got in your head that is memorable, or if even a few fights that have been quite memorable to you that sort of stand out in your career?
Yeah, well, the last one with Vladimir Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, that one falls up on top. And with the Klitschko's always, of all the fighters I work with, they've been the best. Tyson Fury was great. But when Anthony Joshua and Klitschko fought, I didn't see Vladimir and Vitaly until Friday at the weigh-ins, because my daughter Carla had gotten married that Wednesday. So Thursday I flew to London, and I get there Thursday night. So I see Vladimir and Vitaly in the weigh-ins, or in the green room, before they get on the scale, and we're going over the strategies and all that. And finally I put my hand on Vladimir and I said, look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm gonna take care of you like you're my son, because I know these guys can't sleep. Well, here we are, man. There's 98,000 of you crazy Brits, loud as could be, so loud as buzzing. They're introducing the fighters, and right before Michael Buffer does his announcement, I'm putting the final Vaseline on Vladimir, and he says, between him and I, you could call me son. And I said, that just kind of blew me away, because I knew I'd gotten into his mind. And to this day, he'll tell you it's one of the best fights he's ever had in his career. And it was great, because after the fight, all the fans were Klitschko, Joshua. It was, and now they're friends, they're best of friends. So that one falls on top, but there's a lot that takes time and time just talk about them, bro. Well, you froze again. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we're all good. Yeah. Well, that obviously was one of the biggest fights in probably, if not UK history, and in Joshua's career.
Yeah.
Now seeing the resurgence of Joshua, it's even better for him and for the whole of the UK.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get a similar moment when if both him and Fury win, and then to potentially get a nice unification bout in England somewhere, hopefully either Wembley or in Wales.
Yeah, that'd be great. And let me tell you about Tyson Fury when I first met him, right? And I walked into the gym because I guess they recommended they referred me to work with him. Bob Arum, I guess from understand, Jorge Capetillo, because he's really not a cut man. He was just at the right place at the right time, and he prayed every round, he said, right? But I sat down with Tyson, and I said, when you beat Vladimir, we couldn't understand, a physique, a guy Vladimir was just cut like Adonis, and well, Tyson didn't have the best figure, right? But I saw him fight Deontay Wilder, and his type of fighting is, you can't teach it. You can't teach his style of fighting. You can't teach Mayweather's type of fighting. But anyway, we're going over the cuts, and I told him, I said, look, I don't wait till you start swelling up. I do a lot of preventing maintenance. I'll put ice on you every round. I don't wait for the inflammation and all that. So he wins the fight, and he has his shorts on, getting ready to go in the showers after the fights, and I'm ready to leave, and I say goodbye.
This internet is going to kill me.
He gives him the try again.
No, we still
Here we go.
Yeah, sorry about this. I don't know what's happening.
I'm here.
With my internet. It seems to be noticed.
Yeah,
I had an interview earlier and it was fine, but
yeah.
Sorry,
Right. Did you get that with Tyson Fury? Everything I said?
I got the start of it, not the end of it.
Yeah. So I I go in the gym and I introduce myself. Well, we said hello, and we're talking about his cuts. And I tell him I'm going to keep ice on him every round. I'm not going to wait till he starts swelling. I'll do a lot of preventive maintenance. I don't want to get to that point. So he ends up winning the fight with Deontay Wilder, and he's ready to take a shower. He's in his shorts, and I'm saying goodbye. And he gives me a kiss in the cheek and says, Stitch, he goes, thanks. He goes, I love you. Thanks for keeping ice on me. Something as simple as that, So, those are the great moments that I get from doing what I do.
Well, you just sort of answered my next question. My next question was going to be: is there any moments outside of even fights and that you can recall as particularly memorable? Is there any others apart from that?
Oh man, there's so many, bro. I could in MMA. I'll give you that one. Vanderlei Silva is fighting Chuck Liddell, and it's the first Pride fighter from Japan fighting a UFC fighter, and it's a war. And Vanderlei, when we used to go to Japan, the Brazilians gave me the nickname Santana for Carlos Santana, right? So I see Vanderlei about a week before the fights here in Las Vegas, and I tell him I want to give you good karma. It's my birthday that day. Well, I'm working the other opposite corner with Chuck Liddell, and Leon Tabbs is working with Vanderlei, and it's a brutal war. One of my top 3 fights ever. And after the fight, I go clean up Chuck Liddell. He does a small cut. I clean him up, but then I go to the other side, and I check on Vanderlei. And I said, Vanderlei, how you feeling? And he's all swollen. He looks like the elephant. He says, no, Stitch, I'm okay. And then right there in the middle of the ring, bro, he says, Stitch, happy birthday. So that was the final ending with Vanderlei. That's crazy, huh? Yeah, Stitch, happy birthday. Yep.
And just moving on into your career, you obviously worked on the Rocky and the Creed films. How was it working on those, and even seeing that you've been an advisor on those, not even necessarily just playing your part, but like playing your part to a historical accuracy in terms of how the Cutman actually works?
Yeah, and that was that was by design. Ryan Coogler, bless his heart, wrote and directed Creed. He trained with Andre Ward and these guys in Oakland, right? Because he's from the Bay Area, and I think Andre's the one that recommended me to work with them. But when we were having dinner, he's there with his family, and I meet his family. But I told Ryan, I said, look, man, if I see something that's not right, I'm gonna bring it up to your attention because you're representing my sport. He goes, Stitch, please, 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 please do, And so yeah, I wanted the authenticity. I brought in the referees. I brought in the cut man for Drago, Paul Querido. Brought the guys of authenticity to make it look real. So it's been a blessing to have been part of that. I tell people, how many guys I've done 3 movies with Rocky. Boom, I have, and then I've done 3 movies with Michael B. Jordan. Getting ready for the 4th one. So yeah, it's been a blessing. I did the Ocean's 11 when Vladimir Klitschko fought Lennox Lewis, and after that, I started working with Vladimir Klitschko for 8 years. The first one I did was with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. Here Comes the Boom. And then, I did one with Kevin James and Salma Hayek, and MMA movie. So yeah, so I'm not even an actor, but I've been in 7 great movies.
And then one final one for me is, what I end all my interviews with this. What one piece of advice would you give someone that wants to be in your position?
I there's a lot of things I want to tell them. I get that message all the time. Doctors, paramedics, nurses, everybody. They see what I do, but they don't, they don't understand, Callum, that I've been doing this for like 35 years. Just don't walk into it. But here's what I tell them is, look, you got to spend hours and days and weeks and months and years in the gym, being a fighter, working like a fighter. Even if you're not a fighter, you're understanding their mental game, their physical game. And as you do that, you practice wrapping hands on them for free, and you get their confidence level. You start working corners, and at that same time, you're learning how to work on swelling. You're learning how to work on cuts. So it's a long process, and that's why I'm saying none of us have to be certified to be called pros. You yourself, I could give you a towel, and you could buy a $50 license and consider yourself a professional. And the game has to change.
And
so
on one side of that, just quickly, you say that how important do you think that relationship with the fighter is in terms of like trust, especially you trust in them to tell you when they've got an issue and when they're struggling, and vice versa, them trusting you to be able to do your job.
Barrera, a former world champion out of Mexico, has a podcast from Guadalajara, Mexico. And he asked me a question that's never been asked. He goes, has any fighter ever disrespected you? And I thought, and I said, no, because I come in under a different circumstance. My job is to take care of you, so why would you want to piss on the guy that, is there to cover your back? So for me, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure working with so many fighters. And, like I said yesterday with these amateurs, it's not even about the world title fights no more, because I've done hundreds. It's about the personalities of how we intertwine as a team and as friends, because these guys deep inside, Callum, they're all modern day gladiators, every one of them. but deep inside they're all babies, and my job is to take care of the baby, and like Vladimir said it best, you could call me son. So
And
it's
then
crazy.
quickly, one last one after you said that anyone can potentially become a cut man and a license and just get one and jump in the ring. What do you think needs to be changed? Do you think it should be the same way that people go through for a fighter's license or for a trainer's license?
I lost you on the last question.
Sorry, just yeah, you say that things need to change about being. Oh no, this thing wants to stop me. It don't end.
All right, we're back.
Yeah. Sorry. Again, I don't know what's happening
Uh,
with. I think the few people around the house are using it, and it's
yeah, I'm a question because it was coming in broken.
yeah. Sorry. So you said that it needs to
Yeah,
change. Um, in terms of getting your license necessarily, it's a bit too easy. What sort of would you suggest that needs to be changed? Do you think it should be the same as getting a fighter's license or a trainer's license, or should it be even more stringent?
well, yeah, that's I've done seminars, to teach them, but I don't certify anybody because if we go through, like I did the last one in Mexico City, it's like 120 people,
Mm.
and it was a 2-day event, but 2 days is not going to make you a great cut man. So I don't certify them because I tell them, look, I'm just showing you the basic foundations of what you guys need to do, what I do that works, but now you got to start applying it before you consider yourself as a legitimate cut man. And I just got a call from a fighter, uh, ex-fighter I worked with, was world champ. Now his son is fighting, and he asked me about the cut man that he had, and I told him, there's a lot of fake cut men out there. So keep in mind for those that are listening to Callum, if you put the swab here or put there and no gloves, get another cut man.
Um, yeah, and do you think certification should be a specific thing that needs to be implemented in terms of in sort of governing bodies that need to implement this, so to ensure that those sort of fake cut men don't exist anymore or can't practice incorrectly?
100%. They judges and referees have to be certified. So why not cut men? And why not boxers? And that's the thing. Same thing with boxers. Anybody could be a trainer. And that I see so many faults that game has to change because our only job is to take care of these fighters. And Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, former world champ, he says the ultimate goal of a fighter is to render his opponent unconscious, and that's the knockout. And the knockout will create long-term damage. So, yeah, I think we all got to be we all should be certified. And I'm working on trying to bring some kind of safety factors to boxing here in the United States. And hopefully it goes worldwide. So we're working on it.
Yeah, well, perfect. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, my man. All the best to you. Hope things work out with your project.
Yeah.
And if you
Well,
got any more questions,
yeah,
I probably got answers.
I'll definitely send them over if I've got any more. But today, I've not got any. But thank you very much. It's genuinely been an honor to sit down with you and sort of pick your
All
brain
right.
a bit about a little bit of your illustrious career.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they're I'll close by saying they're filming a documentary on my life now, called I wrote a book called From the Fields to the Garden because I grew up as a farm worker. Those were the fields, and the garden is Madison Square Garden. So when I signed with these people, a week later I find out that Triple G is fighting at Madison Square Garden, and we got that footage. And then COVID kicked in, and then after that, the first interview we did was with Tyson Fury. So we're almost done. April the 28th, I get inducted into the or the National Boxing Hall of Fame, and that's when we'll do our final day of filming for the documentary. So keep an eye out for it. It'll be
Okay,
coming out this year sometime. All
perfect.
right.
If I and when I write all of this and get everything sorted for the project, I'll send you over a copy of it. 100%.
I love it. I love it. Whatever I could do, man. Continue coffee. If you have questions, I got answers.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing is great because it's education,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm bringing to the table. And I can tell you that what's always been my nature anyway, because I'm a martial artist by trade. But as I was learning to be a cut man, I'll end up with this story. I had my school of kickboxing, and this guy did a good job in boxing. Then it was boxing only. So I went over there and asked him. I said, "Hey, I'm trying to learn to be a cut man. Can you tell me what you did?" He says, "Fuck you. I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me." And he walked away. That was the mentality of boxing at that time, and I'm changing that.
I'm glad, and I think it needs to be known even by not just by fighters or trainers, but even fans need to know what you do and what you can do, and how you can help other fighters and other people in and around boxing to stay as safe as
Yeah,
it possibly can. It's a hard sport, as I've learned through doing these interviews and looking and watching the sport over the last few years. As I've slowly fallen in love with it, it is
yeah,
also one of the hardest sports, or if not one of the this and combat sports in general, one of the most dangerous sports. But people like you are making it a lot safer and safer, especially for later in life.
yeah. No, a lot of respect for these guys. I interviewed Mike Tyson years ago, and I said, Mike, every fighter has that one little thing that nobody has. What is it? Very simply, he says, take the pain. You have to take the pain. And I thought, he's right. You take a pain in training, take a pain in the fights, take a pain with your family, financially, and then the pain of long-term injuries. And it's a hurt business, bro. It's what they do in boxing.